Imagine this. A 23-year-old walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom dressed head to toe in designer clothes, carrying an air of arrogance. He's there for a simple speeding violation, a 5-minute case at most. But what happens next turns routine into remarkable. When Judge Caprio starts reviewing the case, the young man interrupts with a statement that shocks the room. "I'm the governor's son. You better watch how you talk to me." The courtroom falls silent. All eyes turn toward Judge Frank Caprio, waiting to see how he'll respond to a challenge fueled by entitlement. Will he lose his temper? Will he bend under pressure? Or will he let wealth and privilege sway justice? What comes next is one calm sentence, 10 words that deliver a masterclass in humility. Subscribe now, because what you're about to witness explains why Judge Caprio is legendary, not for shouting, but for knowing the power of silence. Comment below and tell us, have you ever seen someone's ego meet reality? Let's talk about it. Wednesday morning, 11:30 a.m. Providence Municipal Court. The bailiff calls the next case, unaware he's about to announce a moment that will go viral. Case number 7842, Derek Hastings. Excessive speed. A young man doesn't just walk. He struts to the podium like he owns the place. Mid-20s, flawless haircut. Designer jacket likely worth more than someone's monthly rent. His posture says it all. "I'm not like these people." Judge Caprio greets him with his usual politeness. "Good morning, Mr. Hastings." Derek barely looks up. "Morning." "No, Your Honor, no respect." Judge Caprio notices instantly but stays composed. "Mr. Hastings, you're cited for traveling 58 miles per hour in a 35 zone on Thayer Street. That's a residential area with several crosswalks."
"Can you explain what happened?"
Derek shrugs, unimpressed. "I was late for brunch. Road was clear. Not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" 23 miles over the limit, and not a trace of concern. Look, no one was harmed. I'm a careful driver. This whole thing is just a way to collect money under the label of safety." The courtroom murmurs in surprise. Such a dismissive tone toward a judge is uncommon and startling. Judge Caprio's face remains calm, though his voice grows noticeably firmer. "Mr. Hastings, this court treats traffic safety with the utmost seriousness. Driving at high speeds in residential areas endangers pedestrians." That's when Derek makes his biggest mistake. He leans toward the podium, meets Judge Caprio's gaze with a smirk, and delivers the line that will define this case. "Do you know who I am? I'm the governor's son, so you might want to watch how you speak to me." The courtroom's reaction is immediate. Gasps, whispers, and stunned silence. Everyone waits to see whether this arrogant remark has just ruined Derek's case, or if privilege will once again override accountability. Judge Caprio doesn't react outwardly. He isn't angry or shaken, just motionless. His eyes fix on Derek with a quiet intensity that makes the young man's grin fade. The silence stretches. 5 seconds, 10, 15. The entire room holds its breath. Derek shifts uncomfortably, his earlier confidence fading under the weight of the judge's steady gaze. That silence achieves what no argument could. It unsettles him. Finally, Judge Caprio speaks. His voice is calm, almost gentle, which only strengthens its impact. "Mr. Hastings, let me confirm what I just heard. You're telling me to watch how I address you because you're the governor's son, is that right?" Derek tries to regain his composure. "I'm just saying you should know who you're talking to." "Who I'm talking to," Judge Caprio repeats. Slower this time. "Let me tell you who I'm talking to, Mr. Hastings. I'm addressing a case involving someone who was driving nearly 60 miles per hour in a 35 zone. Someone who showed no regret for putting pedestrians at risk, and someone who seems to believe that his father's position exempts him from the law. My father is... I know who your father is." Judge Caprio's interruption is calm but firm. "Your father is Governor Richard Hastings. I've met him several times. He's a hardworking public servant who rose from city council, and I imagine he'd be deeply disappointed by your conduct today." For the first time, Derek's face turns red. Uncertainty replaces his earlier arrogance. Judge Caprio continues in an even tone. "Mr. Hastings, you mentioned your father's name as though it protects you from consequences. Let me ask, do you think your father ignores traffic laws or threatens judges when he's held accountable?" "I didn't threaten," Derek starts. "You told me to watch how I talk to you." "In what world is that not a threat?" The prosecutor, who has been quiet until now, interjects. Your Honor, for the record, threatening a judicial officer can lead to additional contempt charges. Derek's confidence falters. His eyes widen as he realizes this is turning into something far more serious than he expected. Judge Caprio raises his hand slightly, signaling the prosecutor to stay silent. That won't be necessary yet, he says calmly, shifting his focus back to Derek. Mr. Hastings, let me make one thing clear. Your father's position holds no weight in this courtroom. None. If the governor himself stood before me for breaking traffic laws, he'd be treated exactly the same as anyone else. That's what justice means, he pauses, his tone firm but controlled. But I'm not done, he continues, and the quiet authority in his voice freezes Derek in place. You seem to think that being related to someone powerful makes you significant. It doesn't. Do you want to know what truly defines a person's worth? Character, integrity, and respect for others. Qualities you haven't shown today. An older man in the gallery wearing a veteran's cap can't hold back. Tell him, Judge, he calls out, drawing a few uneasy chuckles. The tension remains heavy, but admiration is growing in the room for how composed and principled Judge Caprio remains. Trying to recover, Derek shifts uncomfortably. Look, Your Honor, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I'm sorry if I came across poorly. Can we just take care of the fine and move on? Judge Caprio studies him carefully for a long moment. You just want to pay a fine and leave? Yes, Your Honor. No remorse for speeding. No recognition that you endangered others. No genuine apology for your behavior in this courtroom. Just pay the fine and walk away. Derek's expression changes as he realizes his mistake, but the damage is done. I am sorry about the speeding. Are you truly sorry or just sorry you got caught? Silence fills the courtroom. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair, and the tension is so thick you could hear a pin drop. Everyone senses that something important is about to unfold. If you believe entitlement should come with accountability, subscribe to Judge Stories. Judge Caprio picks up his pen and calmly makes notes on the file before him. Derek, once confident, now watches anxiously as that confidence fades away. Finally, Judge Caprio looks up. Mr. Hastings, you mentioned your father, the governor. He begins evenly. Let me tell you something about your father that you seem not to know. Derek looks puzzled. Governor Hastings and I served together on a public safety commission about 5 years ago. Judge Caprio continues. I got to know him quite well. He's a man who deeply believes in accountability, fairness, and that the rule of law must apply equally to all. He pauses briefly before adding, Your father once told me that the hardest part of parenting is teaching your children that privilege comes with responsibility, not immunity. Derek's face drains of color, then, with deliberate calm and precision, Judge Caprio says, So here's what I'm going to do, Mr. Hastings. I'm giving you a message to deliver to your father. The entire courtroom leans forward, waiting for what comes next. You tell him. Judge Caprio pauses, perfectly timed. His words hanging in the air. He stated that his son needed to understand the true meaning of justice, and that this court would be the one to teach him. A heavy silence fills the room. Then, from the back of the courtroom, a single pair of hands begins to clap, slowly at first. Soon others join in. Within moments, the entire gallery is applauding. Derek stands still, embarrassed as the sound continues. The applause isn't for his punishment, it's for a judge who just demonstrated that no one stands above the law. Judge Caprio allows the applause to fade before continuing with his ruling. Mr. Hastings, for driving 23 miles per hour over the limit in a residential area, I'm imposing a fine of $500. Derek flinches but stays quiet. Additionally, the judge continues, you are required to complete an 8-hour defensive driving course in person, not online. You'll sit alongside other offenders and learn exactly why speed limits exist. Derek nods slightly, thinking it's over. Your Honor, I'm not finished, Caprio interjects. Third, you'll complete 20 hours of community service with a traffic safety program that educates teens on responsible driving. Maybe by teaching others, you'll learn the value of caution yourself. Derek opens his mouth but says nothing. And finally, Caprio adds, I'll be sending a letter to your father, not to punish you further, but to inform him of this case and to assure him that you're learning from it. Now Derek looks alarmed. Your Honor, please don't tell my father. Judge Caprio's tone softens slightly. Mr. Hastings, you mentioned your father to try to influence this court. You involved him first. I'm merely finishing what you started. As Derek leaves, his confidence gone, Judge Caprio turns to address the courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw is exactly why this court exists. Mr. Hastings entered today believing his father's position would shield him. He assumed he could intimidate a judge and walk away untouched. He was mistaken. An older woman in the front row raises her hand. Judge Caprio acknowledges her. Yes, ma'am. She stands and speaks. Your Honor, I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 37 years. And what you just did? That's what we're meant to do when young people act entitled. We must remind them that the world doesn't revolve around them. Judge Caprio nods appreciatively. Ma'am, thank you. You're absolutely right. Mr. Hastings needed that lesson. It's far better he learns it here in traffic court than in a more serious situation later. A younger man then stands. Your Honor, may I ask, what if he ignores the community service or skips the driving course? Judge Caprio replies evenly. Then his license will be suspended and further penalties will follow. The decision is his. But what if his father tries to intervene or reduce the punishment? Judge Caprio's tone turns firm. Governor Hastings is a man of integrity. I'm confident he won't interfere. In fact, I believe he'll ensure his son fulfills every obligation. Good parents don't protect their children from consequences, they help them face them. A veteran in the audience raises his hand. Your Honor, may I speak? Go ahead, sir. I served in Desert Storm. I saw many young officers who thought their rank allowed them to do anything they pleased. The best leaders never pulled rank, they earned respect. That young man needs to understand that respect isn't something you're born with, it's something you earn. Judge Caprio nods, thoughtfully. That's exactly the lesson, he replies. Thank you for your service and for reminding us of that truth. A woman sitting with her teenage son stands up. Your Honor, I'm here with my son. He just got his first speeding ticket. We've been watching this case, and I'm grateful he's seeing the difference between acting entitled and taking responsibility. Judge Caprio turns his attention to the boy. Young man, what did you take away from watching Mr. Hastings? The teenager pauses for a moment before answering. That who your parents are doesn't matter if you break the law. That's right, the judge replies. Anything else? The boy nods. That respect goes both ways. You have to give it to receive it. Judge Caprio smiles. Excellent. Keep that in mind when your case is called. Show respect, take responsibility, and you'll be treated fairly. But act like Mr. Hastings and you'll face the same outcome. What do you think? Should Judge Caprio have been tougher, or was his response just right? Tell us in the comments. As the next cases begin, the mood in the courtroom feels different. It's no longer just about parking tickets or speeding fines. It's about a lesson in integrity. During a short recess, the prosecutor approaches the bench. Your Honor, that was remarkable. I've never seen anyone diffuse a tense situation so calmly. Judge Caprio simply smiles and replies with humility. Just doing my job. Raising your voice only weakens your position. Staying composed preserves your strength. Do you think he learned anything from this? I believe he realized that his father's title doesn't hold special power. Whether he understands the deeper truth, that character outweighs connections, remains uncertain. As for the letter to the governor, I'll write it tonight. Governor Hastings deserves to know what took place, not to shame his son, but because responsible parents should be aware when their children need direction. During the recess, a veteran approaches. Judge, I just wanted to say that kid needed that talk. Too many young people think the rules don't apply to them. Sir, the rules apply to everyone, Caprio replies. That's not an opinion, it's the very basis of justice. You think the governor will be upset? Someone asks, at his son? Probably, the judge says thoughtfully. At me? I doubt it. Governor Hastings knows his son's behavior was out of line. He'll address it properly. Later that day, Judge Caprio sits down to write the promised letter. Dear Governor Hastings, I'm writing to inform you about a case involving your son, Derek, that came before my court today. I want you to hear the details directly from me rather than through others. Derek was cited for excessive speeding. During the hearing, he attempted to use your position to influence the outcome. Please know that I neither gave nor will ever give him any special treatment because of your status. He has been fined and assigned both driving education and community service, standard penalties for his violations. I'm sharing this not to create family conflict, But because I respect you and believe you deserve to know, your son needs to learn that your success belongs to you, not him. And that respect is something earned through actions, not inherited through family ties. Sincerely, Judge Frank Caprio. 3 days later, Judge Caprio received a reply. Dear Judge Caprio, thank you for addressing my son's case with fairness and for reaching out to me personally. I am deeply embarrassed by Derek's behavior and appreciate that you held him accountable. We've since had a serious discussion about respect, privilege, and responsibility. I assure you he will fulfill every condition you assigned. I hope this experience teaches him what I may have failed to teach. That true character is shown in how you treat others, especially those in positions of authority. Thank you for giving him the lesson I should have. Richard Hastings. Subscribe to Judge Stories for more moments where entitlement meets accountability, and when one sentence changes everything. Derek Hastings entered court believing his father's name was his protection. He left realizing it was only a name. Judge Caprio reminded everyone that justice doesn't care about your lineage, it measures your integrity. This is what happens when privilege meets principle, when arrogance meets calm authority, and when one carefully chosen sentence teaches a lesson worth more than any fine. Share this if you believe no one stands above the law and comment where you're from. Do your courts hold everyone equally accountable?